Welcome to the Dorado Gaming Deck Series. Dorado Gaming is your site for premier accessories like metal dice and playmats. Dorado Gaming sponsors the My Mythical Meta podcast, and the deck series features Magic the Gathering decks played by the My Mythical Meta crew. Subscribe to the channel and comment with your own suggestions or questions for the players. Welcome back to the Dorado Gaming Deck Series. My name's Travis, and I'm joined today by my good friend Randy. Say hi.
How's it going?
Yeah, Randy is here for a deck tech this week. And this week, this is the first deck tech that is not one of mine. I am so excited to get into somebody else's head about the deck that they've built. And this is a deck that we've talked about on the pod several times, and a deck that won Randy 8 points in our first league session for the Dorado Ascension Classic. Tonight we are talking about Go-Shintai of Life's Origin. Randy, tell us a little bit about how you came up with this deck. What were your inspirations going into this?
I was trying to come up with a deck that was a little bit out of my wheelhouse in some ways. Before this, a lot of my decks relied very heavily on just combat and a lot of creatures. There's still a good amount of, creature kind of stuff in this deck, but
yeah, this deck has a little bit of token creation.
They're mostly tokens, but it's not really like a token deck either. Yeah. It's kind of a weird thing. But I was just looking and I saw a bunch of cards like the Honden of Life's Web and the Honden of Infinite Rage. There's a bunch of shrines. There's one called Court of Bounty, Court of Ambition, and I just kind of got it in my head. I like this idea of it's you're not fighting other creatures, so it's they're not fighting monsters or creatures. It's just a throne or a temple. It's they're trying to destroy these buildings, and these buildings are winning.
Yeah, this deck is definitely a shrine showcase, and that's what this Go-Shintai of Life's Origin deck is meant to do. It's meant to center around shrines, and all of the shrines have abilities that get more powerful the more shrines you have. So, if you're devoted, if you're going to pray really hard, and if you're going to make the visits to each shrine, then your game plan is going to get more and more powerful.
Yeah, so I just thought it'd be just a funny kind of quirky thing to just have, like I said, just a bunch of chairs and gateways beating the crap out of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had planned on this for a while before Kamigawa Neon Dynasty came out. Originally, it was going to be a Weatherlight Captain decks because she could get me the 5 colors, and I believe that's who the original commander was going to be.
She can pay 5, one of each color, in order to search your deck for a legendary permanent. So I think it's a legendary non-land permanent, I think. I don't have it pulled up, but it's something like that.
Yeah, I believe I was going to somehow try to use her initially, but thankfully the new Kamigawa set came out, and Go-Shintai of Life's Origins just fell into my lap, and I was like, this is perfect. And with that came a bunch of other new shrines that were also creatures. So they're all still enchantments, but now they're enchantment creatures, and gave a lot of good 5-color shrine synergy. I was like, dang, I should have bought all these parts beforehand because, man, did they go up in price a little bit.
As soon as Go-Shintai was revealed, all of the older shrines from earlier sets
went from 50 cents to $5.
I know, because everybody was buying them up for this deck. Yeah, all right, so let's talk about the commander. The commander for this deck is Go-Shintai of Life's Origin. This is a legendary enchantment creature shrine. It costs 3 and a green. This is a notable mana value because you only have to have green mana to cast. It's not until you get into Go-Shintai of Life's Origin's abilities that you need all 5 colors. So even though you only need green to cast this commander, this is a 5-color deck. It uses all colors. Its body is a 3/4, and it has 2 paragraphs of text. The first is you can pay 5 mana, 1 of each color, and tap Go-Shintai of Life's Origin. Return target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is great. This is a wonderful ability, because when somebody removes one of your problem enchantments, you have recursion right there in the command zone, ready at any time. Mm-hmm. The other ability is often what kills us. It's your token generation that floods the board with shrines. It says, whenever Go-Shintai of Life's Origin or another non-token shrine enters the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 colorless shrine enchantment creature token. Every time you play one of these shrines, they are either called Go-Shintai, Honden, or Sanctum. Those are all of the shrines in Magic the Gathering. And they all have different names. Go-Shintai of Boundless Vigor, Honden of Life's Web, Sanctum of Calm Waters, etc. But it's the Go-Shintais, the Hondens, and the Sanctums. This deck is meant to showcase those so that every time you play them, you get an additional shrine. All of these shrines' abilities are going to get more powerful based on the number of shrines you have. So, Go-Shintai of Life's Origin is making you a bonus shrine every time.
Yep.
Yeah. We're going to try to make these deck techs run a little faster by only showcasing a few cards in each of those core categories, instead of going through every single non-land card. We want to give you, the viewer, some room to make your own decks to fill out some of the missing slots that we don't go over. But obviously, if you want to know what's in the rest of those slots, you can check the deck lists in the descriptions or send us messages or comments, and we're happy to talk more about the deck beyond what we put in this video. Our first category is going to be ramp. We talk about ramp every episode. You've got to make sure that as your turns go in the game, you are able to cast more mana's worth than your turn limit would dictate. The rules of Magic say you can only play one land a turn. But if that's all you're ramping, by late in the game, turn 5 or 6, you still might only be casting 1 or 2 spells a turn. Ramp means increasing your mana production in the early game so that in the late game you can cast more and more spells. And what we want to showcase is synergistic ramp. In this case, ramp that uses shrines or enchantments. Randy, walk us through a couple of ramp choices that you made for this deck.
Okay, so we'll start out with the Dryad of Elysian Grove. It's a creature. He is an enchantment creature, so, following that enchantment theme. Mm-hmm. And he says you may play an additional land on each of your turns, and lands you control are every basic land type in addition to their other types. Two big things is, well, instead of just going the 1 land per turn, now I can do 2 lands per turn going forward. And since he only costs 3, hopefully you can get him out by turn 2 or 3, depending on if you've already done a little bit of ramping.
Right.
And then making it so that all your lands are every basic land type. In a 5-color deck, having that mana fixing is very nice.
Oh, yeah.
Not having to worry about, I can't play this spell because it has 2 green pips and I only have 1 green mana source. Nah, you're all good now.
Exactly.
Everything taps
the Dryad
for
says
everything.
Every land taps for any color. This is an amazing card. It's Chromatic Lantern on legs.
Yeah.
That's really great. This is a $15 card. I want to say it was one of the chase rares from whatever the new Theros set was. Randy, did you buy this card specifically or did you pull it in a pack?
I had to purchase him, sadly. Not one of my lucky pools.
Yeah.
We also have the Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest, which it is one of the shrines, and so it is also a green and 2. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, add X mana of any one color, where X is the number of shrines you control. It'll start off a little bit slow if you get in the early game, but once we have Go-Shintai out and you play Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest itself, well, that goes instantly to 3.
Right. Because Go-Shintai of Life's Origin is a shrine, and then Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest is a shrine, plus the bonus 1/1 colorless shrine creature token.
Actually, it'll be 4 because I forgot Go-Shintai brings out a shrine when he enters as well.
Oh, you're right. Oh my god. Yeah. It's not just another shrine, it's him too.
Yeah, insane. So he'll come out, make a shrine, you play Fruitful Harvest, and it makes another shrine with it. So the very next turn after you play that, you're going to get 4 additional mana.
Wow.
For
4
free.
Bonus mana for paying 3 mana.
Yeah.
So it pays for itself +1 in a single turn.
Yeah. And then it's going to ramp out of control real fast, hopefully. Being that it's a 5-color deck, you have to have Smothering Tithe, because if it allows it, you got to put it.
Yeah.
Smothering Tithe is well worth the $25 price tag, and it's just whenever an opponent draws a card, that player may pay 2. If that player doesn't, then I get to create a treasure token. Sadly, it's not a shrine, but it basically makes it so every single round, by the time it gets back to you, you've got 3 free mana waiting for you, if not more. So Smothering Tithe is a core for white.
Any deck with white, I was going to say, because this card costs only 1 white mana, everything else can be colorless. Any deck with white is made better with Smothering Tithe. If you've got the budget for it, or if you bought it early when it came out like I did, Randy, when this card was released, when it was spoiled, it was a $10 card. And I don't remember pulling any from packs, but I just went online and just bought 4 of them. I just spent $40, got 4 Smothering Tithes.
Well worth it.
Oh, absolutely a solid investment. Because, I mean, like you said, it's $25 now. There was a time when it was $40. This card is going to fix your mana and, of course, ramp you. It's going to give you a lot more mana than your turn limit would allow.
Yeah, especially, if everyone else is ramping as well and drawing cards.
You do have the normal suite of enchantment ramp. Green has a lot of enchantments that say enchant a land or enchant a forest. And then it says whenever enchanted land is tapped for mana, its controller adds blank. You add bonus mana. I'm just reading Fertile Ground. You've got several of those, and then I wanted to call out Herald of the Pantheon. 1 and a green for a 2/2 Centaur Shaman. Enchantment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you gain 1 life. That second line of text is just bonus. I don't think it's really necessary, even though it is nice to kind of shore up your cushion if you didn't have any blockers in the early game or whatever. But this ability that says enchantment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, that line by itself will probably save you 10 mana over the course of the game.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, exactly.
Yeah, over the course of the game, as long as you are playing enchantments and they each cost 1 less, Fertile Ground becomes a 1 mana enchantment instead of 2. That bonus, that refund, is really going to add up fast.
Yeah.
Was there anything else in the ramp category you wanted to highlight?
2 other good ones, but they're pretty common, are Mirari's Wake and Zendikar Resurgent. Yeah. Both of them are big staples in green, white, and they're both enchantments, and they just say if a land taps for mana, add an additional mana. So it's just basically like doubling all your land. So they're pretty standard in a lot of green decks.
Yeah.
But very solid choices.
Zendikar Resurgent is a fantastic card. It costs 7, so you're usually not hitting it until near the end of your ramp game anyway. You're in the late game. But it says whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. For traditional green decks, this means that every time you play, you get to replace it in your hand. It's just nonstop gas from there. I'm wondering, in this deck, do you often draw a lot of cards from it? It says you have to cast a creature spell.
Yeah, I only have 16 creatures total.
Oh, okay.
So it might be one of those that could be, cut given how, all the new cards that are coming out. There might be something that could fit that spot better.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe just a Regal Behemoth or, Nyx Bloom Ancient. Do you remember that one?
The name is familiar, but I couldn't tell you.
Okay, this is an enchantment creature elemental for 8 mana. It's a 5/5 with trample. It says if you tap a permanent for mana, it produces 3 times as much of that mana instead.
Okay, yeah, I remember that now.
It is an enchantment creature, so it would trigger all your enchantment synergies. Of course, it is a $26 card. Yeah, whenever they put 3 times of as much something on a card, the price jumps 3 times
triples
too. So
exactly. Yeah, that one may stay on the sidelines for a bit.
It might stay on the maybe board for a bit, but if you're ever looking to really power this up, since you weren't going to get the card draw from Zendikar Resurgent anyway, I don't know, that might be one to consider.
Yeah.
All right, so after ramp, we're going to move to the card draw category. Commander decks are 1 of each card, 99 cards, not counting your commander, so 100 counting your commander. In no game are you going to get through all 100 cards. You need cards in your deck that literally say draw a card in order for you to see more cards and to increase your chance of seeing the winning cards. Cards that are going to help you close out the game. And we just call that category card draw. It's important to have card draw in your deck. Randy's going to walk us through some of his enchantment-based card draw. The stuff that he has that rewards him for playing enchantments in this deck. Go ahead, Randy. Start us off.
So we're going to start with the Sithist Harvest Hand. She is a legendary enchantment creature. Very important. And it's just whenever you cast an enchantment spell, which is 80% of this deck, not including lands, you gain a life and draw a card. So again, life is nice, but the card draw is the key part there.
Yeah, and it only costs a green and a white. You can get this out on turn 2. Get it out super early in your curve, and then the rest of the game, you just keep drawing cards. It's very, very powerful.
Yeah, it's a very, very good one for this deck. Eidolon of Blossoms is another enchantment creature. It is green, and 2 for a 2/2 body, so a little bit more expensive, but when it or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So playing it, you're already getting your card draw off of it. You don't have to wait for another card to come in. That's pretty nice.
Sithis Harvest Hand requires you to cast the enchantment spell. Eidolon of Blossoms is looking for whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield. That means if you cast a shrine, Go-Shintai of Life's Origin is going to make you another shrine token, and Eidolon of Blossoms is going to get you 2 cards from it.
Oh yeah, I hadn't really thought of that.
Yeah, really, really good.
Enchantress's Presence. A green and 2 for just an enchantment this time, no creature, but whenever you cast an enchantment spell, draw a card. Simple, but enchantment matters. It's one of those things where you get 1 or 2 of these on board and your hand's going to be plentiful for the whole game.
Full grip the whole game if you're drawing 1 or 2 per enchantment spell.
Yeah.
You do also have Mesa Enchantress, and I think there's a green version of this card as well. Verduran Enchantress, which has the same text. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you may draw a card. Anytime something says cast an enchantment spell, draw a card, people in Magic are going to call that an Enchantress. They just started printing a bunch of cards with the name Enchantress and other variations of it that all had these effects. So as long as you've got 3 or 4 of those in your enchantment deck, you're good to go.
Yeah. I know I have some others in here. One of the shrines is Sanctum of Calm Waters. It's a blue and 3 legendary enchantment shrine. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you may draw X cards, where X is the number of shrines you control. If you do, discard a card. I mean, I've had the Sanctum of Calm Waters almost kill me before because I was drawing so many cards.
Yeah.
I have 15 shrines on board, and I'm like, oh boy, I am going through my library a little faster than I'm comfortable with, and I think I just ended up blowing it up myself.
I think so. I think I remember that. Yeah,
it was like.
I mean, it does say may. You don't have to draw the cards.
Then maybe it was something else that I.
I love how it says if you do, discard a card. That's your price. Discard 1.
It was Haunted of Seeing Winds, very similar, blue and 4. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card for each shrine you control.
That's it.
No may about it.
No may.
It's like, do it. Maybe that's why in the art it looks like the shrine itself is flooding.
I think so, yeah. Oh man, that's so good though. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card for each shrine you control. Oh my lord. This deck is, it just goes insane with those shrine tokens.
Yeah, it's not as bad as Slivers, but it has that kind of a feel of just like, they're all pointing at each other like, okay, you're going to do the thing and I'm going to do the thing and help you do the thing.
Yeah, they're all making each other exponentially more powerful.
Yeah.
You do have these 2 courts, the Court of Ambition and the Court of Bounty. These are enchantments that bring in the Monarch. Monarch is a multiplayer mechanic where the person who becomes the Monarch, at the end of their turn, they draw a card. But other players can take the Monarch by dealing combat damage. Personally, I really love adding the Monarch into Commander games because they really get the pace moving and they get people swinging out from behind their defenses because they want that extra card.
Yeah.
So I really like those. Court of Ambition is fun. It just says at the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses 3 life unless they discard a card. And if you're the Monarch, the effect is doubled. Each opponent loses 6 life unless they discard 2 cards. That's an enchantment for 2 black. Court of Bounty is kind of a ramp effect. When it enters, you become the monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. If you're the monarch, instead you can put a creature or land from your hand onto the battlefield. Very cool to be playing creatures for free if you're the monarch. That's very powerful.
Yeah, if I was running a more big, like, green stompy deck, that would definitely another include.
Yeah.
Just, it's like, oh, I don't have to pay this 9-drop. I just get my 12/12 with trample for free? Okay.
Let me just stick it here. Okay, let's move to removal. Removal is always an important category because you need to stop other people from winning, and you need to protect your own threats from other people's removal. Let's talk about some synergistic removal, cards that you specifically chose for this deck outside of all your removal staples.
To start off on the big one, a board wipe, I picked Extinguish All Hope. Black, and 4. It's a sorcery that just says destroy all non-enchantment creatures. So since again, most of my creatures are going to be enchantments anyway.
Yeah.
Some of the tokens may not be, but most of those are pretty easy to build back up. Especially since I just wiped y'all's board, and my board is fine. All my shrines are fine. Within a turn or two, I'll probably have like another 100 tokens on board.
Yeah. Well, just the idea that everyone else's boards are completely dismantled. Maybe if somebody's lucky, they have an enchantment creature lying around because it's a coincidence.
Yeah,
but your deck is totally built around that. And so Extinguish All Hope is going to barely affect you.
Yeah, again, like I said, it may get my Mesa Enchantress.
Yeah,
I
mean,
man.
We can count. It looks,
I'll just get a different
like
one back.
You have 1, 2, 3, 4 creatures that are not enchantments.
Yeah.
5.
5. Yeah, 5. Does Mirror Entity count as enchantment?
No.
So 6. Then,
it has Changeling, which gives it every creature type, but it's not an enchantment
creature. Yeah.
Anyway,
it's not a bunch. All the important stuff is an enchantment, and like those are my engine pieces. So as long as they get to stay on board, I'm good.
Yeah. Talk about Urza's Ruinous Blast. I think this is another great choice.
It is a white and 4 for a legendary sorcery, and it just says exile all non-land permanents that aren't legendary. Now, that will get some of my stuff for sure, but again, so all of the Go-Shintais are all legendary.
All of the Hondens and all of the Sanctums are all legendary cards.
Yeah. To me, like, those were my core ones when I was, like I said, first coming up with the deck idea of, I want these legendary chairs, and these legendary, temples to be the core of the deck. So with them all being legendary, and even some stuff that's not a shrine are still legendary, like Sithis.
Hana.
Yeah, Hana.
Yeah, Hana Ship's Navigator. Might be Hana. I don't know. It's probably Hana. They just had to spell it weird because they're a fantasy
company.
Fantasy company, yeah.
So, yeah, that'll definitely help. I'm thinking if anyone has big token armies, gone.
Ooh, yeah.
If they have just, regular creatures and they're not running a lot of legendaries, I feel like vampires have a lot of non-legendary creatures. I mean, there are some great legendary ones, but I feel like if you're running like a vampire deck, most of that stuff's going to be non-legendary.
Benjamin's Edgar Markov deck is full of this really small 1, 2, 3 mana vampires. Yeah,
we just wipe all of them out.
Yeah, I think both of these, Extinguish All Hope and Urza's Ruinous Blast, I think those are really insightful picks because they're going to be one-sided. They're going to completely decimate other people's board while leaving the important stuff of your own board completely intact.
Yeah, let's say some of my enchantments do get removed. Well, that's what Go-Shintai and Sanctum of All are here for. Yeah. Is both of them can get stuff out of my graveyard, my enchantments, from the graveyard back into either my hand or the battlefield.
Yeah.
So it's kind of perfect. Like, well, I'm going to lose a couple things, but I can get them back.
Yeah, you've got a little bit of a recursion package going on. Like we mentioned, Go-Shintai of Life's Origin has his recursion ability if you just cast Wooburg. You've also got Primeval's Glorious Rebirth. This is a really cool spell. 5 white and black. Return all legendary permanent cards from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Yeah, so I have that in there in case someone does get all my legendaries.
They play a destroy all enchantments or something like that. you can just come back and say, Primeval's Glorious Rebirth. I'll just get every single shrine I have back.
Or at least all through the legendary ones. And then, oh, look, I got Go-Shintai back again. I'll just start getting my other shrines that weren't legendary. And then in that same kind of vein, I have Eerie Ultimatum. Return any number of permanent cards with different names from my graveyard to the battlefield. So it's like, man, they don't have to be in Commander, they're all going to be...
they're all going to have different names.
That just says, funny. Get all your permanents back.
Wow.
It costs a bunch. It's very particular with your, it's 2 white, 3 black, 2 green. But it's like, oh, you did a board wipe? Not to me.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Very cool. That was Recursion. Let's talk protection. What do you use in this deck to protect either yourself or your commander? What have you got going on?
So I really enjoy propaganda because I figured I don't want to have to make a bunch of creatures, I guess, or have big or scary creatures to protect me. I want enchant protection. So propaganda, blue and 2. It's an enchantment that says creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature they control that's attacking. Propaganda, so it's okay, well, I'm going to tax you 2 for each creature. And then it's oh, okay, well, someone still really wants to pay all that to attack me. I'll just throw down Ghostly Prison. It's the exact same spell, but white. Yeah. White and 2. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature they control that's attacking you.
Yeah, it's the exact same spell. Except
same spell.
Yeah.
And if they're really determined, if they're nah, I'm going to pay 4 to get this big monster, to get my commander in, fine. Then I'll just throw down a Sphere of Safety. White and 4. Enchant. Creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless their controller pays X for each of those creatures, or X is the number of enchantments.
Ugh, absolutely backbreaking.
Yeah, I had this last time, I believe. I played there at the end. I had all 3 of these out.
Yeah.
And I played Sphere Safety for the 3rd one, and I was okay, I have 22 enchantments. So it was 22 plus 2 plus 2, so you have to pay 26 mana for each creature attacking. Most of the time, I was gonna say most of the time, no one's gonna have 26 mana.
I guess I'll have to attack somebody else.
Yeah, you can't afford to be coming to my turf.
Yeah, there's no way to break that without removing those enchantments first. Yeah, and guys, this is what I'm saying. Good. You've got to have removal in your own deck so that you can penetrate your opponent's defenses like this. Very cool.
Yeah, and I made sure to put some targeted removal in here as well. Yeah. Things like Utter End.
Yeah, Utter End, Anguished Unmaking. And you have a couple counterspells in here too.
Yeah.
Original counterspell, Deprive,
Spell Pierce,
Disallow, and Spell Pierce, yeah.
And then I guess for also protection, things like Heroic Intervention, it just kind of gives my permanents hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. And Teferi's Protection. Hey, me and mine, my whole army, me included, we're going to phase out for a second. Yeah. Y'all do the math, and we'll come back in, and, but we're not going to be involved in this for a minute.
Yeah, Heroic Intervention and Teferi's Protection, these are staple cards. You're going to see them everywhere, and they're expensive cards, too, because they're really great. Heroic Intervention is sitting at about $16. Teferi's Protection has never been less than 40. I can't think of a single time in my life when it was less than 40, even when it gets reprinted as part of the list.
Yeah, it's nuts.
But same with Heroic Intervention. I do think Heroic Intervention might have come in a pre-con just last year, maybe? I don't remember which one, though.
Well, the Doctor Who.
Oh, that's right.
It was in Doctor Who.
Commander
Masters, Tales of Middle-earth Commander, Forgotten Realms Commander, a bunch of Commander
sets. And guys, that's a bunch of sets just in the past 2 years, and it's still at $16. This card's never going to go down because it's so good. 1 and a green to give all of your permanents. That's your lands too. That's everything. Hexproof and indestructible. Can't be targeted. Can't be destroyed in a board wipe. Whatever.
They can still be sacrificed if you're very specific.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other major synergy enchantments that you want to hit? Do you have a favorite shrine that you love to get out?
Well, before I get to the favorite, I'm going to say a pretty good synergistic one that I mentioned earlier was Sanctum of All.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I didn't really read its text. It's one of each color, Wooburg, and a legendary enchantment shrine. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may search your library and or graveyard for a shrine card and put it onto the battlefield.
Wild.
Just boom. You put it on the battlefield, that triggers Go-Shintai of Life's Origin, and so you're going to get another shrine token. Great. Just on your upkeep for free, two more shrines to then let all your other shrines trigger off of.
Yeah.
The second paragraph says, if an ability of another shrine you control triggers while you control 6 or more shrines, that ability triggers an additional time. I mean, it just can really help flood the board or just end the game, you know?
Oh my god. Randy, what's so funny about that is that Go-Shintai of Life's Origin is a shrine. So if you have enough, then getting out a shrine gets you 2 shrine enchantment creature tokens. Because Go-Shintai of Life's Origin's second ability is a triggered ability that would trigger an additional time if you control 6 or more shrines.
Wow, yeah. So playing one shrine then will then do another shrine, or another 2 shrines.
Another 2 shrine tokens.
Woo! Yeah.
Every single shrine has triggered abilities. They all look for a part of the turn phase. The Go-Shintais look at your end step. The Hondens look at your upkeep. And the Sanctums look at your pre-combat main phase. So these things that just go off at a part of the turn, those are all triggered abilities. And so Sanctum of All is going to say, hey, if you control 6 or more, they all go off twice.
Yeah, so whenever you have that mixed with, like, I'm going to go ahead and do, like, you know, a Honden of Infinite Rage.
Yeah.
I mean, at the beginning of my upkeep, it deals damage to target creature or player equal to the number of shrines you control.
My God.
Well, I mean, that easily can get to 10. So, boom, 10 to your face. It triggers again, another 10 to your face.
Unbelievable, dude.
There's Infinite Rage and Go-Shintai of Ancient Wars. Pretty much does the same thing, except it's at the end step. You could pay 1 singular mana, 1 mana on your end step, and it says Go-Shintai of Ancient Wars deals X damage to target player or planeswalker, or X is the number of shrines you control. So upkeep, I'm going to deal 10 to your face, and then Sanctum triggers, I deal another 10 to your face, and then I go to my end step. Oh, I'm going to do another 10 to your face, and then another 10 to your face.
For, the Honden of Infinite Rage plus Go-Shintai of Ancient Wars is just a machine gun.
Yeah, laser. It's just a shotgun blast.
It's a, Mom, we have Aetherflux Reservoir at home.
Yeah, it's Aetherflux with extra steps. Yeah. But hey, you don't have to pay life for it.
Dude, that is so cool. Hit us with your other finishers.
Let's see, some finishers. Sanctum of Stonefangs is another fun one. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, each opponent loses X life, and I gain X life, or X is the number of shrines. Again,
oh my God, I'm just using the base number 10, and I know that seems like a lot for an uninitiated Magic player, but guys, this hits 10
not
easy. It hits 10 very fast.
But you're getting at least 2.
Because you're getting 2 per cast.
Time you play one.
Yeah.
And so and then after you get 6, if you have Sanctum of All out, you're already doubling to a 3. So like it can very quickly get out of control.
Yeah. So
with how many shrines you get.
So the number that's floating around in my head is 10 every time it says loses X and whatever. Each opponent loses X life and you gain X life. That's each opponent. Yeah. That's 30 damage if you just deal 10 per person.
I really like the Hidden Cruelty. The Go-Shintai Hidden Cruelty. At the beginning of your end step, I may pay 1. When you do, destroy target creature with toughness X or less, where X is the number of shrines you control. It's like, man, you spent all that money to get Kozilek out. Shame that I can pay 1 to kill it.
Let me check. Make sure Kozilek doesn't have protection of some kind.
Whichever one doesn't have protection.
Kozilek.
You know, just any other big stompy monster. Any
Okay, yeah. Kozilek, Butcher of Truth can totally just be blasted down by this thing.
Yeah, for 1 mana.
Kozilek, Great Distortion can totally be blasted down by this thing.
Is he 10 or 12 or 11?
They both have 12/12 bodies.
So easily you can get 12 on board.
That is so funny. Yeah.
And then it's like, you know what? I messed up. I'm going to pay 1 and destroy that that monster that you just played.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. So there's just a lot of like fun things that you can just kind of do. And I liked building this deck because I didn't want a deck that was going to play the same every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I there's decks out there that kind of like rely on like, I have 10 cards that all do the same thing because I need this engine to form.
Right, yeah, you need the redundancy.
I need a sack outlet, and then I need my token maker, and then this is my infinite combo piece that like feeds together.
Right.
And those are fun to play, that when they pop off, they're a lot of fun. But this one, maybe I will get my Go-Shintai of Lost Wisdom out, and I'm just going to mill a player out. Because it says at the beginning of your end step, pay 1 and target player mills, which is taking cards from the top of their library and putting it into their graveyard. Mm-hmm. So it says you mill X, where X is the number of shrines. So it's like, again, 10 is pretty easy. But I mean, I've had 20.
Yeah.
So just say, hey, take the top 20, which is 1/5 of your library. Take a good chunk of your library and just put it into your graveyard.
Yeah, Dude, this is a really cool deck. I gotta ask, what's your plan B if your commander gets removed? If Go-Shintai, gets into your graveyard or gets exiled, what do you do if you don't have access to Go-Shintai?
Let's say he's blown off the board. I'm already kind of like into my board state. Yeah. Well, luckily it's like I kind of already have like a bunch of shrines on board, hopefully. Mm-hmm. And then the shrines can kind of keep doing their thing until I'm able to bring them back out.
Yeah, this is really good because, if he gets removed in the late game, it just does not matter.
Yeah. Now, let's say, like, it's early game and I don't have... Or, like, there was a board wipe. I don't have anything to get my stuff back. And I'm kind of, like, at a real setback. It's like, okay, how do I get back into the game? Maybe he's been destroyed a couple times and he costs an 8.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I do have a couple of cards. We mentioned earlier, Hana, Ship's Navigator. Mm-hmm. You can pay 3, tap her, return target artifact or enchantment from your graveyard to your hand. That's a way to get those key pieces that have been eliminated back into my hand. Right. If I know I have Hana, Ship's Navigator, and that I can, it's like, well, I can risk it and put Go-Shintai into my graveyard and hopefully not have to pay that commander's tax. Yeah. It's a risk, but Hannah can do stuff. There's also Sigil of the Empty Throne. When you cast an enchantment spell, create a 4/4 white angel with flying.
When all else fails, just go white flying beaters.
Beat him over the head with angel. Yeah. Go-Shintai Shared Purpose. It's another token, a big token generator. So it's like, well, I don't have my shrine generation, but I'll just make a bunch of 1/1 spirit tokens to like buy me some time. Have them up as blockers, or if I have enough, I can go around. Mm-hmm. There's other ways to kind of like buy time.
This particular card, Go-Shintai of Shared Purpose, it costs 3 and a white for a 1/3 legendary enchantment creature shrine. It has vigilance for no reason. I don't know why it's attacked.
I don't know either.
It says, at the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token for each shrine you control. Every time Randy has ever gotten Go-Shintai of Shared Purpose, it's just Wall of Spirits.
It's usually like God. 20 pop onto the board.
I was about to get him, and now he has a wall of 20 spirits. Or, like we've been saying, that base number X. God, 10 spirits that I have to chew through, that I have to trample through, that I have to find some way to get through them in order to finish off this freaking tree. This tree with lanterns hanging from it is killing me.
Yeah, and then, at that point, you also gotta hope I don't have something like Cathar's Crusade out.
Oh, yeah.
Because those 10 1/1s that I just paid 1 mana for to get on my end step. Mm-hmm. Well, Cathar Crusade says it's an enchantment, of course. 2 white and 3 colorless, 3 of any color. Yeah. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Well, at Magic, whenever something like Go-Shintai Shared Purpose, when all those creatures come out together, they all see one another. Yeah. So I don't make 10 1/1s. Or, I mean, I do. I still make 10 1/1s. But they're all going to see their 9 brothers and sisters. So they're all going to come in as 10 10/10s.
Actually, Cathar's Crusade in particular, these creatures see themselves enter too. So they actually would all come in with
11/11s.
Yes, they're all 11/11s because they're 1/1s with 10 plus almost 1 counters.
There's other cards that kind of do similar things. Life's Web. Content of Life's Web. Green and 4. It's one of the shrines. At the beginning of your upkeep. This one's just free. Beginning of your upkeep. Put a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token on the battlefield for each shrine you control.
Yeah, you don't have to pay the 1 like you did with Shared Purpose.
Yeah.
It does have a little bit of higher mana cost. It's 4 and a green.
Yeah.
But it's also at the upkeep. It just happens at the beginning of your turn. Ooh, yeah. You don't have to wait until the end.
So I get a big body of blockers. And then again, hopefully, Cathar's Crusade is out. Or Court of Bounty. No. It's one of the green ones.
Is it Boundless Vigor? Go-Shintai of Boundless Vigor.
Yes. at the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1. When you do, put a 1/1. Oh,
this one buffs up one specific creature.
One creature. Yeah, which is still good because it's, you put them all on your commander, and now your commander can kill with commander damage.
Yeah, you can do that. So we're talking about Go-Shintai of Boundless Vigor. It costs 1 and a green. It comes in as a 1/1. This one is a creature. It has trample. Initially, I would say that's ridiculous, a 1/1 with trample. But it has this ability. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on target shrine for each shrine you control. Well, target shrine could be itself. And it has trample. Yeah. So, since you're making one thing really big, make it really big, since it has trample on it.
Or one of the angels that I made that has flying.
Yeah, it could be any of your Sigil of the Empty Throne or whatever. Randy, this deck is really cool.
Yeah, it does a lot of different things. It's not super specialized in terms, I guess, of like what the ultimate win con is, but that's kind of what I wanted. Like I said, I wanted just, hey, maybe this time I'm going to just machine gun you out of the sky with my red.
Yeah.
Ancient Wars and that one. Or maybe I'm going to make a big white weenie army and it's going to go around you.
Yeah.
It's just, I like the variety. But it's also just very resilient.
Oh, it's so resilient. Go-Shintai only costs 4 to get it out the first time. And then there's plenty of these enchantment recursion things that you've got in here, including Go-Shintai itself. So say you do have your red shrine out and ready to blast people down. People can waste their enchantment removal on the red shrines, but then Go-Shintai can get it right back.
Do it again.
Yeah, exactly. This is awesome. Any last words for your Go-Shintai of Life's Origin deck?
Just remember that when you're building a deck, it doesn't always have to be what's the most efficient path. Mm-hmm. Like I said, when I was building this one, I wanted something that was different and fun, especially early on when deck building. And I feel like sometimes still now, I like to make a theme of some sort.
Yeah.
And this one was just, like what if just there were no creatures on the battlefield, really? It was just a bunch of temples,
Yeah.
And I just thought that was really funny.
Do you remember that board game we talked about, Tokaido, where it's about taking the best Japanese vacation?
No.
Yeah,
I don't remember
this
that.
board game is called Tokaido, and you have to go through the path, but you have to stop at the best stops in the best order.
Okay.
In order to have the best Japanese vacation. That to me is what this deck is like. You've got 15 temples. You want to see them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking about it, since a lot of the temples make spirits, it's like when they're showing up to the battlefield, it's basically just like a graveyard is pulling up, and it's like, all right, raise all the spirits up, let them go into fight.
Yeah, man.
It's like, oh man, what the heck?
This is awesome, dude. Well, thank you so much, listeners, for hanging out with us to talk about Randy's Go-Shintai of Life's Origin deck. Tune in next time for a good deck. Adios.
Bye.
This episode was sponsored by Dorado Gaming. Use the promo code META for 10% off your order. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. This episode was edited by me, Travis Konishek, and our intro and outro music is by Tyler Heath of the Oh Hellos.